this is Weird Corvid, and we're doing a reading for the waning moon in Capricorn, which is the first week or two of January, the new year. If you have anything that you see differently in this reading or anything you resonate and connect with, please let me know. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your opinion on that and what you see. So the first thing I see on this print is in the middle of the print, almost dead center, just off to the west a little bit, is the letters IF, or if, which makes me think of the idea, if you could do something, what would you do? If this didn't happen, what would you have done? If whatever, if that. There's sort of like rules or contingencies that you put on yourself, or sometimes others, but mostly on yourself. So in what ways are you putting contingencies on yourself? What way are you sort of making up rules that if you can do A, B, C, and D, then you can do E, F, and G? What are you not just stepping ahead and doing, but you're putting steps in between you and what it is you want to get to? Whether that's a mindset or physical world goals, like you want to go do something nice for yourself, go on vacation, but you have to do A, B, C, and D first. Prioritize those things. What is actually important? First of all, what's important to do, whatever the thing is you would do if? What are the steps that you absolutely have to take and which ones are really not that necessary? But also, there's going to be some things like certain responsibilities in your life that you do have to take care of, but you need to prioritize those, because what society tells you is important to get done before you do anything else then is not necessarily necessary to do. But if there are things that are important to you, then yeah, you need to prioritize those a little bit higher than some other things. For example, if you don't want to be a nomad, you probably need some sort of roof over your head, probably a foundation underneath you, which means you either got to buy or rent a home. And if you buy a home, you're going to have a mortgage. And if you paid off the mortgage, you're still going to have property taxes and all your bills, like your electricity and your gas and all that. So having your bills paid is probably important before you go in and say, like, I don't know, spend a $1,000 or $2,000 on things that you might not need, that might not be as important as having the roof over your head. But other than like the really important things that help facilitate you able to do other things, you maybe want to look at the steps in between you and whatever this if thing is, that you will do this if A, B, C, and D happen. Do you really need A, B, C, and D? Maybe you just need A. Maybe you just need C. Maybe you don't need any of them. The if is also a little bit more towards the west. So is this something emotional? Is this something of the heart? Of the soul, of like the emotions that you feel towards something or around something? Is this emotional self-care? The other thing that I'm seeing sort of beside it is, I'm not exactly sure, it's just off to the side of the if, definitely on the west side of the paper, and it's a bunch of shapes that are together that to me look like some sort of a rattle. The last print we were talking about having your own music, your own rhythm, your own frequency. So is this sort of a way of sort of, this rattle is your frequency, your rhythm in the emotional sector? Like, do you have to do A, B, and C before you can feel like you can connect to that emotional side of yourself, that your own personal rhythm, your own frequency within yourself? And also one of the parts that are sort of like a part of this rattle, or in the orbit of this rattle, it almost looks like an upside down heart, which is interesting because it is so close to the west side of the paper. Is there something that's not sitting right in your heart? The last sun print, or maybe it was 2 sun prints ago, we talked about having a heavy heart or something weighing heavy on your heart. This heart doesn't necessarily seem heavy. It's lighter than the surrounding, but it's upside down. It's not being interpreted correctly, or not as correctly as it could be. What are the steps you would need to take to right that heart and interpret it in the right way, to have it present in the right way? The right way being whatever is the most authentic to you, not what you think you should be, but what you actually are. Are you even representing your heart in your own soul, in your own emotional realm to yourself? Does something need to be righted there before you can move on to all the ifs that might be attached to it? The rattle almost kind of looks like a microphone. It could be a rattle or a microphone. So again, speaking your truth, singing your truth, but that basic idea of your own rhythm, your own song, your own frequency that comes from like deep in your soul, maybe even from a time before you were born. I don't know. How deep do you want to go with this? The other thing I'm seeing is just below this little section of the rattle of the microphone and the if is this shape, and it's really hard to describe what it is, but it has a long tail behind it that gets a little bit wispy towards the end. And it seems like it's shooting towards the rattle, or the west side of the paper, from the southeast corner of the paper. And it feels like it's getting ready to like bust open. Like it would probably, if it keeps on its trajectory, it will hit the rattle, and it will hit that heart, upside down heart. Is whatever this is that's coming from the southeast southeast gonna hit the corner of that heart and write it the right way, or make it so that you can see it in the so-called correct way? Is this some sort of passion, goal, drive that you have? Passion, not necessarily all physical, but passion can be like for certain hobbies or ideas as well. I would say it's something less of a physical, emotional passion, because it's not coming from that east southwest. It's coming from southeast. So some sort of idea, maybe like reading books, maybe like learning things. There's a passion around those types of things, I would suspect. I would say some sort of passion that you can really connect to with your mind, something that you can always learn more of. It's almost like a skill more than an innate thing that you like. Something that you can always learn more about is something that you can always build on. I'm almost thinking too that it's something from possibly from your childhood. It's something that's been with you for a long time. Some sort of passion that you maybe lost touch with, and it's coming back, and it's going to tip that heart in a better direction possibly, or make it so that you can see that heart and write it yourself. The east side of the paper does seem very flowy, very few hard images as compared to the west, which is defined images. The east is very flowy, not defined images. Definitely seems more like an ether cloud of sorts. So nothing too solid coming from there other than this projection of from the southeast that feels like it's just gonna like it's coming at a fast rate like a comet, and it's ready to like mess things up and turn everything around. Hopefully it'll turn the heart the right way around and it'll get things in order, or it can completely just blow things up. Hopefully it seems like it's going to clip the side of the heart, and hopefully that'll just give it just enough to tip it the right way. In the north, the first thing I see is a very structural rectangle shape very close to the end, which to me, very hard lines and angles is a very material type of thing, and being in the north, which is a very material element, which is a direction that deals with a lot of material matter, solid type thing, north, earth, that type of stuff. But it seems to be sort of like being interjected into your cloud and interjected into your space, coming from the outside in. Almost an obstacle. It could be an obstacle of some sort from the outside world, a very material, physical obstacle. I'm not sure what that might be. It is coming in at almost the opposite direction that comet at the bottom of the page, or comet-like trajectory at the bottom of the page. So I wonder if it's almost something that is sort of counter to this. I would think that the energy from that comet at the south, or comet-like energy from the southeast corner, would be more of a reply to something coming in. It's something that has always been there and is just now shooting out. The very physical thing that seems like it's coming in from the north, from outside of us, has not always been with us. So maybe this one is in reaction to the other and trying to counterbalance that. So if this comic-like trajectory from the southeast has always been with us, is probably, I am assuming, is some sort of passionate endeavor or interest that we have, it would be something that would be an obstacle towards that, or maybe an opposition towards that would react this response. Is there something from the outside world that we are sort of settling for, that we are taking on without really wanting to take on? Is it something that represents taking on something we don't want to take on, like a house we didn't really want and we underplayed how much we really didn't want it, or a job that we don't really want but we need a job, but it is in direct opposition to what we really want out of life? And is that how the if comes into play? That if we deal with whatever this outside influence that's coming in, then we might be able to indulge in these passions of the heart or hobbies or whatever it is. And this print is telling me it's not going to work that way. There is going to be conflict between these things. And in a way, because we were talking in the last print about the more you connect with and lean into your own natural frequency, your own natural flow, your own natural creativity and song and all the rest of it, your rhythm, the more the things that you want are going to be drawn towards you, and the more the things that aren't going to work for you will be dispelled or repelled a little bit. Which this seems like it's almost a test. It's putting all the stuff you've learned to the test and seeing if you're actually going to back it up. Are you actually going to support yourself? Are you actually going to do what needs to be done to support you and who you are, not who everybody else wants you to be or how you fit into society? But are you going to start building that trust with yourself, that trust to protect yourself and to protect what you need, not what other people tell you? I'm not saying to if you have a job opportunity and you need that job to snub your nose at it, but to really sit down and think about it. And if you have to take that job in order to get by and survive, how can you make it work for you? What little daily things can you do to tweak it to make it yours? What things can you use that money for once you've paid off what you need to, the responsibilities need to pay off? What can you then use that money that you make from the job that you don't really want, that supports you at your core level and what you need to be yourself, to be in your own flow? How can you use that job if it's not quite right for you, but you need it? How can you then use it to support who you innately are? I'm not saying this is a job. It could be something else. I'm using this as an example. If it is whatever's coming in, if it is not something you need in your life, it is time to stand up for yourself like you would your best friend. It's time to stand up for yourself and what you innately want, not what other people tell you you should want. And this is a test to see if you can hold your song, your frequency, your rhythm through whatever this is. It's not a huge obstacle, but it is solid. It is something that's going to be there. It's not necessarily the tower moment, but it is definitely something you're going to have to address. It's not something you should necessarily stress out a whole lot over, because there are ways around this, but it is something you're going to have to address in some way, shape, or form. In order to be yourself, you're going to have to address this, because it's in direct conflict or opposition to whatever this passionate drive is. And you have that if very clearly in the middle of the paper. If you do A, B, C, and D, can you then do the stuff you want to do? And really prioritize and look at that, I would say. What absolutely needs to happen and what does not need to happen. So let's look at the cards. We have on the west side of the paper, I have past influences, and on the east side of the paper, I have current influences for this time period. And we have cards from the Halloween Oracle deck and also from the Messenger Oracle deck. So the first card on the past influences is the Skull of Light, and it says illumination under that. One thing I noticed right off the bat is it's again a very sort of flowy type of background, which reminds me of the southeast corner and that sort of warmer, browner blob of ink there. Yeah, let's see what the book has to say about it, and we can go from there. Should the Skull of Light enter your life, know that it is time to open yourself up fully to the clarity of bright illumination. Allow yourself to be seen, to see and to act upon what is shown to you. The time has passed for hiding, for pretending, and for swallowing our discomfort by accepting the status quo when it really doesn't suit us, which kind of does fit with these readings we've been having lately. Coming into your own and really recognizing what your flow is. You have a good idea of that now, or at least you have been exploring these ideas in your mind and your body and your soul of late. And so you should have a better idea of what you need and want for who you authentically are, or you're getting to that point. The next card on the past influences is number 40, which is see yourself in nature. And it has sort of a Pan-like character there. I'm assuming in this card it might not be directly Pan, but just a sort of a wild man type of idea of the forest. So let's see what the card has to say. You are born of man and woman, but humanity is born of the natural world. So it is time to reconnect. Look out into the natural world, explore your world, and you will see who you are. Peel away all judgment and dogma born of man, and see your truest nature mirrored in the beautiful world around you. See that your emotions are like the weather, and that your senses reach into the sky and earth like the branches and roots of the tree. See yourself in nature and nature within yourself. Well, that definitely seems to fit with figuring out who you are, what your rhythm is, what your natural innate self is, away from outside influences. And in connecting with your true nature, you also in a way connect with outward nature. And a lot of the times people find that if they connect with outward nature, they connect with their own nature. It's sort of symbiotic that way a lot of the time. So for past influences, this definitely seems to fit what we have going on here and past reading. So for current influences that we have on the east side of the paper, we have trick or treat, mischief, and play. The last reading we had the jack-o'-lantern. We have multiple jack-o'-lanterns on this card, and that card was about protection, that you have the protection you need and to not worry so much. I also talked a lot about the light inside the jack-o'-lanterns being sort of like your own light and it being protected. You may be needing to protect it possibly too. Also, the kids in this, I'm assuming kids in this card, are obviously the trick-or-treating. They're wearing costume but holding the pumpkins. So they're hiding their faces, hiding themselves behind these costumes, which is the point of Halloween. but they're holding their light in their pumpkins and their jack-o'-lanterns. But let's see what the little blurb on the book has to say. Should you receive the trick-or-treat card in your divination, it may well be time to examine the role of play and mischief in your own life. You don't have to be a child to let go and have some playtime, and you can extend the fun to others. Sometimes we are afraid to make mistakes, and play is one way to alleviate the pressure that we sometimes place on ourselves to get everything perfect every time. Alternatively, it is worth knowing that there is a balance between manipulation and mischief. The former is not pleasant, and the other has, at its core, a sense of irreverent fun. So I can see how this might fit in with some of this. For me, I grew up trying to figure out, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, what's your what's your purpose in life? And I didn't know what my purpose in life was. So then, well, what's your passion? I don't have a passion. What things do you like to do? What things are fun for you? And I had been so long by the time I asked myself this, got to that point, that I didn't even know it was fun for me anymore. And at that point, all you can do is just go and experiment and try new things and see what sticks and what doesn't, and try to find something that it might not be your purpose or your passion in life, but it can be something fun to try out for a little while. The other thing that might happen too is you might find that by trying things that you didn't think were related to anything that you're interested in when you were younger or that has been with you all along, these things that you're trying out will ignite a new spark for that passion or for that interest that you've had for as long as you can remember, or at least a very long time. You'll find connections between the two that you didn't know existed before, and all of a sudden, oh, now I have this thing I can go after that I actually am a little bit passionate about. So it might be a slow burn to start with, but then it's going to take off if you keep exploring. But at the same time, I can see how trying to fit things into boxes, trying to fit your passion into a box, or trying to fit these new hobbies that you're trying out into, pushing them into passions or purpose in life when they're maybe not that serious, at least not yet. Trying to make money off of them, it could be considered manipulation. And again, going back to like as a kid, a lot of this ideas of what my passion and purpose and all that is started off with simple question of asking me when I was a little kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And of course they mean, what type of job do you want? But very rarely do people ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're expecting like, oh, I want to be helpful and humble and all that type of stuff. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for, what type of job do you want to do? They're looking for a way for you to commoditize what your purpose in life might be or what you want to do, which is not necessarily the way you're always going to do it. Sometimes, like we talked about before, a job is there not to be your purpose in life, not to do anything more than to give you the money to go do the things that fulfill you, to support your hobbies and anything else. And sometimes your hobbies and your passions in life are just for you. And sometimes you share them with other people and sometimes you don't. So you want to be really, like, I'm not saying you can't make money off of the things that you love and your passions in life, but make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Don't try to shove something into that box. Don't try to make it work. Keep that initial spark, that the thing that you originally liked about it, make that the priority. The next card is be patient. We've had that card before too. The blurb for that card is, now is not the time to act. Now is a time to show self-restraint. Be patient and wait. Do not let your desire for an outcome or resolution result in one that is not to your liking, because you forced it to manifest before it was time. Trust that all will be as it is meant to be, when it is meant to be. Be still, let go of all frustrations and impatience, and remember that good things come to those who wait. At first I was thinking, oh, well, the other cards are saying maybe it's time to act, to go explore things, and then this card's saying patience, but no, it's also saying that now might not be the time to force things. It really sort of backs up the other card with that whole be careful about the manipulation side of it. Not just manipulating other people, but manipulating yourself into thinking you need this or that to do A, B, C, and D. That whole if thing coming back up again. So explore things that might be related to your hobbies, and really take the time to question and think about what these obstacles are that are coming into your life that might be throwing you off your frequency, off your vibe, off your own rhythm. Really think about if you need them in your life or not. And if you do, what ways can you make them fit your rhythm better? You shouldn't be trying to fit yourself to these other things. You should be trying to fit them to you. What way can you make them more yours? But really take your time and think about it. You don't have to rush anything. This time of year is meant for contemplation. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. It kind of came together a little bit in the end. I can't tell you exactly what your obstacle is going to be. I don't know. But I can tell you it is definitely worthwhile to really sit with it and examine how it fits you and not how you fit it. How does it align with your rhythm or doesn't? How does it feel to you? Anyways, bye.